Hi, folks. This is Dave. Today we're underneath the Chrysler 300 uh, with a 3.5 V6 and all-wheel drive, and we're looking at the oil plug right up here, and that's where the oil drain plug is. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at how you might fix a stripped-out oil pan plug. Now, I've taken it out, and mine isn't stripped, but I have a friend that says he's having problems with his. He's got a 2007 Charger with the same motor in it, and so I thought I'd make this for his information and for anybody else that might be having a problem. This might be a way you can fix a stripped out oil plug. Now, if you notice on this car, these have a cast aluminum oil pan here, and the threads are aluminum also. So what happens is if you over tighten the drain plug, and here's what the drain plug looks like. And this is steel and much harder than the aluminum oil pan. You can pull the threads right out of that pan. So, and that's a pretty expensive repair to replace that pan, which is what you'll often get from a dealership or a repair shop. They may recommend that you replace the pan. Well, even on a two-wheel version of these, there's a lot of stuff to get out of the way. And on the four-wheel drive version, such as this car, you can see the little bit of the differential here, the front differential, and that goes actually through the oil pan to the other side over here. So there's a lot of stuff that has to be removed, making this a pretty costly repair if you have to replace that oil pan. So what we're going to do is determine if this particular fix I'm proposing here can even be done. And so to do that, if you look up here, you can see in the oil pan hole there, and you can see it's kind of hard to see, but the threads do go back quite a ways in there. So what I did was I just took a piece of a wire with a little hook on it so that I could put that in there and see how far back that goes in there by hooking the edge of of the uh, the hole. And then I just held my finger on it and I marked it, and I took my little clamp, little inexpensive clamp, and I measured that, and I come up with a measurement. Now we're going to go over, and I'll show you on a drawing what we're going to do. Okay, I've taken my measurements, and using the wire that I showed you earlier, and then I use my little slide here with the depth gauge here and here the same. And this is the plug out of the car. And then I also have another bolt here. Now this isn't the right bolt. To determine what bolt you'll need, take your old oil plug, and if it's still got threads on it, take it down to a hardware store that sells metric and standard threads. Now this one used a 13 millimeter metric socket to get it off here to remove it, so I'm assuming it's a metric thread. But to make sure, whatever car you got, because this may work on other cars too, just find a nut that will screw onto this all the way down, and it should screw on fairly easy without much force. Once you have that nut, then you find yourself a bolt that's longer than the oil plug. So this only has, on this car, it only has about 5/8 of an inch of threads there, not even. But the depth of and this is a drawing I made, a cutaway of the oil pan, the depth of those threads goes back little over 3/4 of an inch. Now it doesn't leave you a lot, but it does leave you some there that still are good threads, and you can use them. Even if these threads up front are damaged, you still have these back threads that you can that'll seal. And how you do that is you find your right size bolt, and then you cut it off the same depth or just a little bit longer than your oil pan threads go back, so that then you get yourself you got to also allow for a washer, and you'll need a rubber gasket that'll stand up to heat and oil, and your auto parts store can probably help you out with that. But this is just going to be a standard bolt of metric or standard size, whatever you need, and you cut that off. And when you cut it off, you can take a grinder or even a file and round those edges off so that they've got a taper on the end, like this part here. Now you won't have this little part here, but taper the end off a little bit so that as you screw that in, it starts easier. Now you have to want to be real careful with this to get it started straight, and you don't want to use any kind of electric wrench or impact wrench, air-driven wrench, or anything. This should only be done with a hand wrench, and you want to make sure not to over tighten these things. If this was from an auto shop, a repair shop doing it, I would go back and demand that they replace the oil pan myself, and that if they don't, that you'll take further action. But this is a possible way to repair your plug without spending a lot of money, and it's again, you want to make sure that who's ever doing the oil changes only does it with a hand wrench, and that if you have it done at a shop, you tell them that they cannot use air wrenches on it for anything. It all has to be done by hand, and explain what's been done so that they don't damage it any further. So with that, folks, give it a try. Hope that works for you, and good luck. Thanks.